This is ContactTalkRadio.com. Consciousness in action. And you are taking action into your consciousness by tuning into Contact Talk Radio.
And on TuneIn.com, Hing.fm, and UpSnap Mobile.
Contact Talk Radio. Welcome to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. Joan and Janet are subtle energy empaths who navigate consciousness. Their passion is to support you in your evolution. As consciousness, we are all one. One mind, one heart, free of all limitations. Experience this reality with us and discover how it can make a difference in your daily living. Join us in a state of grace as we explore, with warmth and humor, this thing we call life. Now, here are Joan Newcomb and Janet Barrett.
Welcome to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. We're your co-hosts, Joan Newcomb, coming to you from Tacoma, Washington, and my partner, Janet Barrett's coming to you from Portland, Oregon.
Hello, everyone. How nice to be with you again.
It's very nice to be in this neighborhood.
Yeah.
So, our topic today, we are talking about indignity and consciousness. Everyone is indignant. Whatever side of the coin you're on, our hidden and obvious indignities are present. Consciousness is unfolding, and our historic generational biases of abuse and critical voices are exposed. Tune in today and recognize how this dynamic is affecting you and learn how to join the transformation.
Yeah, there's a lot going on out there, listeners, and we know it. So we're here to help you navigate it, and this is something that we see a lot of. So we'll get into that in just a little bit. But we want to invite you to go deeper with us beyond the show. And we have a website at www.consciousconversationswithjoanandjanet.com. And there you can listen to our podcasts and our websites. And Joan and I have great blogs. We do blogs, and we list our meetups there. We do our sessions, all kinds of different ways people can get a hold of us. What are all those, what do you call, addresses? Twitter,
social media,
Facebook.
Social media. So yes, if you have preferred social media, we are on Facebook. You can find the group on Facebook, Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet, and join the group and join the fun. You can find Janet on Facebook. She's Janet Barrett. And I'm on Facebook as Joan Marjorie Newcomb. And you can also find us on Twitter. The show is on Twitter at Joan and Janet. And I am on Twitter at Joan M. Newcomb. You will fasten your seatbelts if you follow me on Twitter. Isn't just announcements about the show. And we're also on YouTube. The show is on YouTube, Conscious with Joan and Janet, and you can see all the archived shows there. But you can also see my YouTube videos, which I post once a week, both on the website and on YouTube, and get my mystic minutes and find out mystical ways to navigate life.
They're really nice people. They're very helpful. And
and you know what else you can find out both on the website and on my site is Conscious Conversations meetups. And Janet does them on Tuesdays and Thursdays. One of those in the evening and one's in the afternoon, right?
Right.
For you?
Here at my home.
In Portland?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Good stuff.
So they are a lot of fun. If you're in Portland, get your arse over to near Reed College where Janet lives, and you will find your exactly bouncing off the walls, falling onto the sofa. It's a wild ride. And then I do Conscious Conversation meetups that are actually conversations, and we talk a lot. And I do them around the Puget Sound. I'm in Seattle, I'm in Bellevue, I'm in Tacoma and University Place, and then occasionally I'll get invited by other meetups to talk as well. I'm also on Vashon Island now. I'm trying out Vashon Island to see if they can handle me. And we have Conscious Conversations, and then we will also we'll also play with little techniques. I'll teach you how to step through doors to parallel universes, basically. So this weekend I'm in Tacoma on the 25th of February, and I'm in Bellevue on the 26th of February, and then on Monday night on the 27th I'm down in University Place. There's something else here.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, and then we'll have our conference call. Oh my gosh, all the C's today.
Say that 2 times fast.
Yeah, on Thursday, March 16th, third Thursday of the month. We always are doing that at 7 p.m. Pacific. We have the most wonderful hour, exploring our skills and just sharing and being in heart space together. And what comes out of that is its own thing, as always, whenever we do this work, is no matter what time and space and place that you listen to it or you're live with us, stuff happens. So, and it's unique to that moment. So, many ways to join us. But let's talk today about indignity, Joan. What are we doing with that one?
How dare you? Actually, it's like you can take, there's like righteous indignation, but it's interesting because, you came up with the topic. So what do you mean about it?
Well, what we had been noticing in groups, certainly, and in clients, was this, everyone's upset. And they're seeing injustice everywhere around them. We certainly have the political situation that's triggering people like crazy, and it's bringing up these old stories of questions about indignity, and that's what you feel when you lose your dignity, or you have a sense that your dignity has gone someplace. And I was really looking at that. I wrote about it this week on my blog, so you can check out the information there. And what we really are exploring is how people have lost a sense of self, and maybe from a ancestral positioning, because we realize how civilization and emotional development of people and countries and clans and families works, is that a lot of times people have lost faith, lost something, and to comment on it might have been treacherous, might have been unsafe, might have gotten you killed, might have gotten I guess you can't get any more hurt than killed, but, and so where does that energy go? And where does it locate itself? And that this is such a marvelous time in consciousness opening up that's showing up. So one of those many things.
Yeah, when you are responding with righteous indignation, you're definitely triggered about something, and whatever you're triggered about may not be actually going on. So we've got a couple of different things here. We've got where people actually are being and they really are being invalidated by the leaders in this country, and so there's an aspect of something that's actually going on, and then there's an aspect of those of us who have that in our history being triggered by that. Right. And then you also have an aspect of people who are being righteously indignant about things that are completely a distortion. And so, how do you navigate? What is the essence? What is truth in this?
Yeah, and it's the difference between what you're hearing in your environment and the difference between your authentic voice. And, as children, and there was something actually on Abraham this morning that was sent to me about the difference. And we do need to be aware of the difference of how we feel different than maybe what is being projected at us or around us, and the difference in how to hear ourselves. So that's why we're so focused on and creating the space where that authentic voice is drowning out in its quietness. It's drowning out all the sound out there. And so that you can hear what is important to you. And as we unfold in this new age, of what is there that has been creating this pearl within us, it's the little bits of dust that have been forming something. And we are quite remarkable creatures. So it's very exciting to me.
That's a great image. It's a little kernel of something that is creating great irritation, but what goes around it then is a pearl.
Right.
Yes.
And it gets nice and shiny and round, and, it's a thing of beauty. And so the dirt, the dust, does it stay that same, or is that central to how...
Well, it becomes something of great value, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah,
which
definitely.
is interesting. Interesting.
Right. And so when we're talking indignity, let's go with the definitions here. Dignity is the state or quality of being worthy of honor or respect, a sense of pride in oneself, self-respect. So indignity is an injury to that dignity, a slighting or contemptuous treatment, humiliating affront, insult, and injury. So with that information present, listeners, can you see how you might be in that state of indignity, of being offended in some way? And in your life, because this is all about each of us, and then it's the collective, how are you handling that information? So it's an energy that's being generated from the present or from the past or maybe even from the future, because in consciousness there is no time or space. And what do we do with it? And that's what we wanted to explore today with all of us.
Well, great. So we will be exploring that momentarily. We'll be going into heart space. But first we need to stop for our commercial break. So you're listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. And stay tuned. We'll be talking more about indignity and consciousness in a state of grace.
Would you like a fresh approach to the challenges you're dealing with? Janet Barrett is a subtle energy empath. Feeling the energies present in your myths and language, she offers a supportive, non-judgmental viewpoint. Experience new ways to relate to and release the energies in those stories. Receive a $25 discount on your first session. Email Janet for an appointment at janetb@janetandbeyond.com. Come explore with Janet. New possibilities for a joy-filled life.
Is your soul calling you to do something more meaningful with your life? Do you feel crazy for wanting to quit your secure job? Perhaps you are waiting until you retire to do what you love. Maybe you are too daunted to follow your dream. If any of these match your life, then Joan Newcomb's Purpose and Passion Coaching Program is just for you. In just 12 weeks, you will discover who you essentially are and why you are here. Learn to live as your greater self and navigate with conscious mastery. Go to joan-newcomb.com. That's joan-newcomb.com for all of her coaching programs.
You are listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. To reach our program, please send questions and comments to consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. That's consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. Now, back to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet.
Welcome back. You're listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. I'm your host, Joan, along here with Janet, and we are talking about indignity and consciousness.
Ooh, this is good stuff. You know, I have to admit, Joan, till I realized that was what I was sensing, I guess I really hadn't invested a lot of energy in it. But then once I did wake up, have my moment of awareness, it was like, oh my goodness, I can see where this is playing out a lot of different places, in a lot of different ways, and in a lot of different fields, right? I mean, because we have the gender, you know, we see that pretty obvious between, you know, political situation and trying to shut women up. And then you have it, and even in medical and science fields, you have it in families. You have it. Where do you notice it? Do you notice?
Well, it's going across the board. And when we're talking about things that are generational, things that are patterns, all of this is coming up to disintegrate, and it is across the board. So it's a massive, massive sweep.
Right.
I think we haven't seen this kind of transformation in, you know, 40 or 50 years in this kind of worldwide scale.
Yeah, definitely. Well, maybe we better go heart then, and let's see what unfolds for all of us.
Take us there.
All right, everybody. So the part of you that can listen and pay attention, we invite you to be with us. And so no matter what you're doing or where you are, and whatever time and space, there is no time and space in consciousness. So we're going to just allow. There we go. Let's just allow. What does that mean to you? So just notice what happens when I say that. So if we just allow ourselves to be present, not be distracted. There we go. Oh, that's nice. So notice heart, physical heart. Start there. Good place. Now we know that physical heart is an organ, so it's a certain size, certain shape in the middle of your chest there. But it's really a field. So everything in the body connects to that heart. So it's referencing everywhere. So just be grateful and appreciative that it's working. There we go. And appreciate how strong the body is. It does everything to keep itself running. And so then our second meaning of heart is emotional train. And notice that, what it's like to have emotions, and embrace them, welcome them, and then utilize them. Our challenge usually is we don't know how to use our emotions well. They're more abusive than fun generating for a lot of people. So, and that's always my pet peeve. It's about how poorly emotionally trained we are. So we can go to school and learn numbers, but we don't know how to be happy or sad or whatever. So just notice you can have many emotions running at the same time. There we go. Oh, that's lovely. Let's feel that. Just went quiet. And then that's into the third meaning of heart, the core, essence of all. And this is the infinite sea of potential. This is consciousness. This is where you and I are one. Individuality disappears or gets a little shakier, wobblier, wigglier. And this is where we are on the level of quantum dynamics. And this is where we are bits of photons, which are light, bits of biomass, which are biophotons, and then there's the resonances, the frequencies, the vibrations. On that level is what we're talking about, and it's all held up in information. Our stories, our myths, the ideas of who we think we are. And all of that falls into patterns. And so in this place and space, all that is no thing. This is potential. And what it's like to embrace yourself as potential, as consciousness. It's warmth, support, non-judgment. So those things that you think are so important, seem so important, really just kind of soften a bit. Oh, there's a nice breath. There's a little tightness in the chest. There's a shortness of breath there. So it feels like there's some old shock. Something hit the system and you didn't have a chance to process it or deal with it. And that really leads into the indignity that we're going to talk about today from this place. So what you noticing, Joan?
I am noticing, it's interesting, when you take this into heart space, everything calms down. Mm-hmm. And even so, I am kind of noticing a disturbance in the force. Kind of like we're floating down the river, but we're seeing, the frantic hordes on the shore. So there's my sense is that there's just a lot going on in the world, and ultimately it's a collective healing. It's just feeling very chaotic right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so what I'll offer all of us is if it is shock, what if the shock is present in a way that it's useful to notice, all right? So everyone, just what it'd be like to breathe easier. Because we have a lot of shocking things showing up, whether it's politics and positions and sides to that we want to remember. All sides to it. So everyone who voted for Trump and those who didn't, right? So everyone's got stuff going on. So, and just notice that if we can just be with it and recognize it, and we allow ourselves to stop, be present, and then you can take a breath again. But so much happens sometimes so quickly that we never get a chance to observe ourselves. And that information just goes somewhere in the body. And then it starts to add up. So let's see if we can invite the chaotic to be something else. What you got, Joan?
I was waiting for it to respond to my invitation. I think my invitation went into spam.
Well, it could, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, what I see is change is happening, whether people like it or not, and there's so much more going on so many different levels than one thing or the other, and it's so interesting to me that regardless of the attempts to maintain the status quo or to take the status quo back to something familiar, change is yeah, exactly. Change is continuing to happen. Expansion is continuing to happen. Progress is continuing to happen. And if you're in heart space, it's a heck of a lot easier.
Well, it invites you to be truthful. And I see out there a lot of projected untruths. I see a lot of performance art. I'll call it that. And it's emotions acting out. It's people not being in their integrity and certainly not in their dignity. There is no self-respect on some of these fields that we're noticing. There is no caring. If you can't, you in order to feel compassion and kindness and the willingness to give, you have to be willing to be honest. You can do it from a place where you're not, where it's just an image. And pretty soon that just creates the bankruptcy of spirit, and everyone can notice it. And nobody wants to be treated like they're less than. That's the whole point. So when you're in a state of charity, or you think you're doing really good because you're going to help that guy over there, you don't want him demeaned in that. And unfortunately, a lot of our systems are set up to be helpful, but there's a demeaning quality that comes out of it. And so that's an honest protest, I see. People wanting change in systems that are not responsive because they're full of agenda, or they've lost sight of something.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I see what you mean, because there are helping systems that also keep people locked in patterns that you're talking about. And so it doesn't really empower them to break out of those patterns. And I can see the thinking on another side to, this is a land of opportunity and you need to pull yourself up by your bootstraps. But it kind of leaves people really far behind. There isn't like a bridging gap. And the other thing that is going on, and I think why we're all not tolerating the invalidation anymore, is that collectively we are all stepping into our own internal sense of divinity and power. So we are all experiencing that. So now when traditional demeaning stances, are thrown at us, we're saying no.
It's not allowing anything to compromise one's sense of self-respect. And you have to have the self-respect to begin with. And so if you haven't developed that or been allowed to have that because of your situations, you don't know what you've lost. So this is why, for all of you out there, that Joan and I look to articulate these conversations in us, is because it may not have been in your slice of life awareness at what are the forces that are at play within any of us at any time, and certainly within ourselves. And we're all looking to feel good. And these are underlying things that are so breaking open. Consciousness is inviting us to step out of the old ways. And there can be an uncomfortableness with that. We recognize that. And we're going to say, here's the state. We may not be personally there to hold your hand, and that doesn't matter. We are here holding this state that change can happen if you so invite it. And even if you're unsure about what that is, take a step. We invite you to take the step. Because we want you to have your dignity, you to have the understanding how important you are, and that you are, as consciousness, already in that, and you've chosen to release your sense of it. That's all. It's already there. You don't have to go looking for it. You just have to allow your awareness of it.
And I think that is coming into each of us without any effort. Mm-hmm. And even if you weren't raised with these acknowledgments or validations, it is coming from within you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that's what this unfolding is about. It's got to push out what may have been suppressing it or holding it in an armament sort of position, and it's like, no. And it's helpful. I find it helpful if I can recognize what it is, those dynamics, because those interest me, right? For other people, they don't need to know, that's not what their conscious state of awareness is about. They just know something's pushing at them and something's going to be different. And I think I'll have a beer or a glass of wine and change happens. And they don't even know it. It's that hunter monkey thing that's the principle that works. And all of those are right ways. We don't judge any of this and how we experience it. Who am I to say what is right for you? I can't do that. And I refuse to do that. So I don't play that game.
It seems to me that it is a matter of recognizing that the change is happening, acknowledging, validating yourself for the change that's emerging from you. Mm-hmm. And to be aware that it's really an effortless process, and evolution is happening, and all you need to do is ride the wave with it.
Mm-hmm. It's good if you're not overwhelmed and swept under, I suppose, right? You like to ride the wave. There is a preferred position. Head up instead of butt up, I suppose.
Well, it depends on your preferences, because,
Exactly.
Some people like that position.
That's right. But in the water.
Right. When you're in this process, it may feel like you're being swept under. If you're in this process, it may feel uncomfortable at first while the stuff is breaking down within you. It may feel uncomfortable not because it's breaking down within you, but it's breaking down with everyone around you. That's another thing that I have noticed a lot of. Our abilities are heightened now. Our sensitivities are heightened. So we might actually be feeling other people's breakdowns and not our own. So it's lots and lots of fun.
You and I know that we feel that all the time anyway, right?
Yes, but I noticed, and yes, I've been a practicing whatever I am since 1981, but my sensitivities also are heightened in a way that it's hard to explain.
Yeah, right. Well, and if we want to explain it, that's the verbal processor, the brain. That's the left brain. It's language oriented, so it's trying to locate where it is placement wise by using that verbal acuity to locate. I think that's we use our eyes predominantly to locate ourselves, but the verbal is like that echo, that reference. Is this where I am? And if you can voice it through the sound is very locating, it's very directional, very placement oriented is what I mean. Yeah.
Suddenly I think of a bat using echolocation.
Oh, totally. Right. And they make their little chirps, don't they? Quite a language. So what do we notice about this, everyone? It seems like it's kind of gotten quiet out there.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And that chaotic energy is settling down a bit, Joan.
Which is very nice.
We with the high sensitivity appreciate it.
I've been so longing for some peace from the noise.
Yeah. So we just invite ourselves to be here, to be present. And what if you were aware that you do have this quiet in you, this sacred? And what if this quiet got louder, see, this is how this works, than anything else? And how that's perceptual, right? The sense of loudness or quietness. Those are just words. So if you can think in terms of generational information, this comes to mind, about your family and the generations of the past, and how indignity was there in their lives. And in noticing that it quiets in you, how that information goes back to all of them. Nothing is ever done. It just reinvents itself and shows up in new ways. And if there's no time or space as consciousness, then they may have physically lived in a different age, but they're still living. They're still in your DNA. They're still active. You may talk to them regularly. I don't know. The way energies show up. And so what if they felt this quiet? It's so invaluable with how we have a sense of sharing ourselves with others. And when we do our work, it ripples out. And other people get it on some level. Well, something interesting, Joan. Your son is from Spain in the last week or so. He's in that European vibe and a whole different. And what has he brought? What is your awareness with him?
Well, he's living in Spain, and he has. What he's brought here is his expat's perspective. He has been kind of despairing, actually, about what's going on in the United States. And it's so interesting because Spain itself has its own chaos and disorganization. I think it took them a year to elect a president or something. They have 5 different parties, but they're much more relaxed about things. And so that, I think what the difficulty he is having is watching what's going on in the United States, and then the reverberation of what's going on across the world in reaction to it. And he's experiencing it from a very in real world perspective. I didn't raise him with my woo-woo stuff, so he's out in the real world. He's in Madrid right now getting a master's degree in economics. So he's seeing things that he hasn't witnessed before. I mean, he's 26, right? So the previous administration, he was like 18, was that? Mm-hmm. When it, and yeah. So for the age that he noticed, the age that he noticed is, it has been quite different than now. And I have to say, I lived overseas during the Nixon years. So, I remember what I felt on the outside and how the world, responded during those times, needing to ride the waves of those sort of things. And you think about that, because I came back to the United States in 1971, so I had been out of the country since 1964. So that's a really huge chunk of time, and came back to the world in the similar transformation as we're experiencing now. There's a similar uprising and sort of house clearing of things, and we're at the next level of it. So we really aren't backsliding. We're just at the next level of evolution, and so that is what I see is going on today. And it's interesting to observe him at his stage of life and how he is responding and reacting to what's there in the real world. And he has more information, actually, than we had in the 70s. We only got what was on NBC. My family were staunch Republicans. We watched NBC, the Today Show. And there's so much more information coming in now. But what he doesn't have is the perspective that I have is the riding of the wave, the ability to step back and see the bigger picture. I'm curious to see how things are unfolding, because what I'm observing is, the scaffolding getting ready to give way. That's what I'm observing right now. And here's the other thing that I have noticed is, as greater consciousness comes into form, the patterns disintegrate. So it really does, things that you've never seen before happen. And the storyline goes off script, and the world is becoming more random as opposed to predictable. And I've watched this go on in individual people's lives as they have stepped into this new awareness. So it's fascinating to see the world collectively stepping into this new awareness. And from that perspective as consciousness, it's you're able to have a sense of humor about it.
Yeah, right. Are you notice? What I'm noticing is the quiet, and there seems to be an opening that wasn't there before. There's an opening up. When that softness happens, you everything kind of settles. So maybe there's a sense of being soothed. I think always it's about acknowledging, recognizing who we are and what we feel. And it's not that you have to stay there and get emotional and do any of that, but it's about acknowledging the patterns and the elements of a pattern. And then that recognition frees something up. I notice that all the time. And I embrace that in just bringing a moment of awareness to whatever is going on within myself or within someone else is enough to change things. Because I think all of this, and this ties into dignity and indignity, is having self-worth, self-value. We have to start there. It's all about ourselves. Sorry, everybody. It is all about us. And so that's what is rippling out to the next person. And where do we develop our sense of self-worth? How do we define it? How do we know that we are worthy of self-worth, for one thing? That we deserve self-worth? That we that it is the best and highest for any of us. And that's really, what if in this moment, that's what was turning on? That's what was unfolding.
Well, there's inherent self-worth.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, so there's inherent self-worth. I mean, as consciousness, you are infinitely valuable, and you inherently know that.
Okay.
And as greater consciousness comes into form, as your greater consciousness is coming into form, you are recognizing and experiencing your own inner value more and more.
Mm-hmm. So you're really truly valuing yourself as consciousness.
Right. And I have to say, as consciousness, you also value your body. You value your form. You value your life. You love the creation of it. Mm-hmm. And you love the storyline no matter how messed up, because it just shows how creative you are as a screenwriter.
Yeah, because consciousness isn't attached, right? It's
right.
Just like, okay, there it is, and what do we do with that? Oh, isn't that interesting?
Yeah, we're doing this for the fun of it.
Yeah. You can put it that way.
Oh, we went this way? Okay, let's go this way.
Exactly.
So, and that's kind of how, for my navigational clues, I know when I am navigating life as consciousness is when I feel amused, when I feel curious, when I feel playful. And if I'm navigating as my body personality, I'll be reactive. I'll have a problem with this. This will be, the sky is falling or whatever. So that's how I tell the difference. And in terms of worth and value is it goes away from the egoic levels of dignity or indignity, to the essential value of consciousness for all creation.
Yeah. What if there was no thinking? What if it's only about being? Right, we played with this the other day in group. And what a novel idea to have no idea. That mind is so busy creating and filling space. And if space is expansive, then, you can really fill a space. And what if it's just about being? Where we stop all the mind chatter, recognize the chatter and stop the chatter. And that's what all art of meditation and those disciplines and principles are all about, is being able to quiet the mind and allow consciousness to be present, right? That's in the holiest of traditions is to do that. Doesn't matter what religious background you're in. And to just allow information to cycle through, to show up and observe it going. And you attach what you want to it. But if you don't have a presumption in place or perception in place, and the information comes in and you either reject it or deny it or agree with it because it fits and matches the bias up, and then it totally supports whatever that state of reality is. So in just letting that soften, which is what we do here in Heart-Centered Awareness, we can just allow information to flow. And you get to realize how you interact with it and what you want to do with it. You can engage it, or it can just be a pretty picture and nothing changes. Or it can be totally transforming. It's the way we observe ourselves, don't you think so?
Yeah. It's an expansion, and our way of observing ourselves is expanding.
Yeah. And that's what this time is all about. It just, physically, it's been kind of a trial for me, I will admit. And in that, I can laugh myself silly. Because it's like, oh, okay, come on, body. Let me support you and love you more. and experience your connection to everyone out there in maybe a little softer way. And then some of us do it emotionally, and some of us do it mentally. There's all kinds of different ways to notice things and resonate.
Yeah, and we have called this change in. And what we're calling in right now is a commercial break. So just want to let folks know that you're listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. And I'm your host, Joan, along here with Janet. And we are about to take a commercial break, but stay tuned because when you come back, we will be talking more about indignity and consciousness.
Would you like a fresh approach to the challenges you are dealing with? Take a journey into your enlightenment with Janet Barrett. Janet is a subtle energies empath, accessing the field of potential with warmth, humor, and support. She will help you to hear what your inner voice is saying. She will share with you how to appreciate who you are now and offer you new ways to understand and transform your issues. Reach her at www.janetandbeyond.com. That's janetandbeyond.com. Again, janetandbeyond.com. Transformation is possible. You can enjoy new outcomes in your current experiences. They can happen in the blink of an eye. Is your soul calling you to do something more meaningful with your life? Do you feel crazy for wanting to quit your secure job? Perhaps you are waiting until you retire to do what you love. Maybe you are too daunted to follow your dream. If any of these match your life, then Joan Newcomb's Purpose and Passion Coaching Program is just for you. In just 12 weeks, you will discover who you essentially are and why you are here. Learn to live as your greater self and navigate with conscious mastery. Go to joan-newcomb.com. That's joan-newcomb.com for all of her coaching programs.
Welcome back. You're listening to your, whatever show this is, Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet.
Not too conscious, are we?
I'm not being very conscious. I'm being multidimensional right now. We've been talking about indignity and consciousness. Say that 3 times fast.
No, thank you.
Okay.
It's enough just to be it. So, yeah, well, let's just check in, everyone, because this feels a lot calmer. And that's interesting that it would feel calm. But you were mentioning it as chaotic earlier. So notice the calmness. We invite you to feel the calmness and let it be real, because it is real. I think what's really important for all of us is to really connect with the awareness that we're okay under all the hyperbole and the dramas and whatever is exposing itself. I love that word, exposing itself. You're okay. Because there is no judgment. There's only warmth, support. That is what grace is. And what it's like to let that be real in this moment, and in the upcoming moment, and the moment you just had. This is why Joan and I enjoy this show so much and spending time with all of you, is because we're together in this bigger than if we were just sitting here by ourselves. We're feeling the collection. We are the collection, if not the collective. We're the collection of this resonance. And each of us allows it to ripple out into our world.
I'm Googling hyperbole. Hyperbole. Exaggerated statements or claims not to be taken literally. Exaggeration, overstatement, magnification, embroidery, embellishment, excess, overkill, rhetoric. And then there's this photograph right there, this guy with this really blonde hair and orange skin.
Okay. So, do you notice the laughter? All right, everybody. Notice that, right? It is possible. And it is releasing. Let it be transformational. Right? Let it be transcendent. And that's the key. Transformational works in the same plane of reference. And when you allow change to be transcendent, it rises, it elevates you to a different place. And I would think most of us have been feeling a certain way about life. And all of this is about our consciousness leaping forward, right? And these are our moments in the sun to bask and then let it shift. Everybody wants a shift. So don't fight it. Just organize it the way you want it for yourself. But do it coming from this state of honesty. Yeah.
Integrity.
Yeah. Yep.
And I can't keep repeating how easy and effortless it is. When you just lean back and relax into it, it'll just unfold effortlessly.
Well, that's what we're feeling,
Yeah.
Calm and peace.
Yeah. So this is great because we let people stay in this state and they can go out into their day. They can float out into the rest of their day in this heart space and notice what shifts or changes, because it's a very subtle thing. But being in this heart space allows things to unfold, and it creates a ripple effect, like you were saying, out into your world.
People don't have to know anything. It's not about knowledge. It's about being. So I feel more rested. I feel more relaxed. That is real. You don't have to think that. Just have to allow yourself to be.
Right.
Relaxed. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to let people know how to stay in touch with us after the show.
Okay.
We have a website, consciousconversationswithjoanandjanet.com, and you can go there to catch the podcasts of all our previous shows. You can also access our websites. You can read our blogs. Janet writes a really fascinating blog, and so do I, so they're both posted there. My Mystic Minutes, my video, is also posted there as well. You can learn about our meetups. Janet has meetups twice a week in Portland, and I have meetups in once a month in Seattle, once a month in Bellevue, once a month in Tacoma, and once a month in University Place. You can just drive around the Puget Sound like some people do to go to all these meetups. You can also learn more about our sessions. Janet and I do sessions in person and also by Skype or by phone. And you can also find the show on Facebook, the show Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. You can join the group and join the fun. You can find Janet on Facebook at Janet Barrett. You can friend her and follow along with all the wonderful adventures she's having. You can find me on Facebook, Joan Marjorie Newcomb, and you can see all the interesting things that I post there. And interesting things, you can follow us on Twitter. If that's your favorite form of social media, the show is on Twitter at Joan and Janet. And I'm also on Twitter at Joan M. Newcomb. You can find all the interesting things that I post in between inflammatory stuff. I also try to post pictures of corgis. They're called obligatory corgis between all the other stuff that I follow along. And you can find us on YouTube. The show is on YouTube, and I'm also on YouTube. And you can just binge listen to us on YouTube.
That's right. Just relax and put on the headsets and just trance out.
And,
right?
If you're going to be in Tacoma on Saturday, I have a meetup at the Wheelock Library in North Tacoma. It goes from 3:45 to 5:45, and it's a fascinating conversation. If you're in Bellevue, I'm going to be at the Newport Way Library. I think I'm there at 1 o'clock. And then you can also, if you happen to be in University Place on Monday, we're in the small conference room at the University Place Library next to Whole Foods at 6:30 p.m. And when is our next Conscious Conference call?
I think that's March. I think it's like the 16th at 7 p.m. And Pacific. Yeah, it's always Pacific, everybody. This is where the world starts. That was the Pacific. Everything comes from this place. So
yes. If
sure,
you were in American Samoa, yes.
Yeah, right. And if you're in the Puget Sound area, please join Joan at one of her Conscious Conversations. I mean, you can find her anywhere and everywhere. And her groups, they really rock. Those people have stuff happen to them. And then here we have stuff happen, and wow. Life is rich. It's exciting. It's full. You want to see a change in the world around you. It starts with you. I am a vehement believer in that. You cannot expect change around you if you don't experience it first within yourself. So what you see playing out is in you somewhere. So as you come into alignment and open that up, you'll see change around you. So.
And you can tune in to us next week to tell you about more changes going on.
Oh, yeah.
So you have been listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. I'm your host, Joan Newcomb.
And I'm Janet Barrett. And it's just been an absolute delight to be with you again.
You tune in next week, same time, same channels.
Goodbye, everybody.
You've been listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. And thanks so much for helping to co-create the show, no matter if you're listening live or on demand. You energetically contribute to our collective experience. Joan and Janet love to hear from you and invite you to email your comments and ideas for them to explore each week. Contact them at consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. Tune in next week for another great show, and until then, keep enjoying this wonderful adventure we call life.